Special thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Last week, we transformed the artwork of Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and this week we've taken your suggestions, and boy do we have something special in store for you today. Apart from dedicating countless hours of pain and suffering to make these videos possible, we'll also be drawing in the styles of Yuya Takahashi and Naotoshi Shida, to name but a few. And what's more is, I have a little announcement to make.
First, a quick word from our sponsor.
It's always nice when sponsors reach out with products I actually use, and Opera GX is a browser that's technically built for gamers, but actually offers by far the best features of any browser that even us lovely weebs will enjoy the advantages of. It's probably most famously known for its ability to monitor and limit the resources that tabs are taking up, which is a real dream when I'm doing any sort of editing, but it actually has a lot more to offer than just that. One of the coolest features is the sheer customization on offer with Opera GX. There's an absolute wealth of custom wallpapers, especially the animated ones from the Opera add-on section. Maybe it sounds kind of dorky, but I actually do enjoy building little themes around anime I love. You can also upload your own images and adjust the colors to match. Along with this, one of my favorite aspects is the light and dark modes, especially the auto-adjusting one, which is probably the best I've seen from a browser. For me personally, one of the most useful features is the video pop-out one. I'm oftentimes pulling up episodes to refresh my memory when writing scripts, so being able to float an adjustable video frame over my work is so unbelievably helpful. And I'm sure those of you who watch my videos and study will get some great use out of them too. It's honestly such a great browser for productivity. You can log into things like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music directly from within the browser, but what I love the most is that it detects when you open up a video in a tab and automatically pauses your music for you. No more awkwardly alt-tabbing to pause just because you wanted to watch a YouTube video. I know swapping browsers can be a real pain given you've likely got years of usage in your preferred one, but Opera GX makes changing faster than Goku's instant transmission. With just a few clicks, your browsing history, bookmarks and cookies, and general settings are seamlessly transferred. It really is as simple as that. So if you want to make the swap, simply click my link down in the description and download Opera GX today. In addition to the video you're about to watch now, earlier this week I reached out to numerous professional animators that have and work for Toei Animation to see if they'd like to give these redraws a shot themselves, and they responded. Which means next week, professional Toei Animation animators will be redrawing some of the stills from these trailers in your favorite art styles. Everyone on the team is very excited for the upcoming Dragon Ball Super superhero film, and this is our way of showing that excitement. I can't wait to share it with you all, but for now, it's time for this week's video. Last time I asked you guys to send us suggestions, and suggestions you most definitely sent us. One of the most popular ones sent our way was this image of Piccolo charging his special beam cannon, or and the artist first up on the chopping block to attempt this redraw is me. Okay, awesome. I love Piccolo, and you know what? I want to redeem myself from last week's struggle, so I'm gonna draw this in the crazy detail style of Masaki Sato. And you know what? This one was actually alright. Now, in saying that, as I mentioned last week, Masaki Sato is known for his rugged, detailed, and specific style that colored a lot of early Dragon Ball Z, but to be honest, I don't mind spending more time drawing details when I know the result is going to be worth it. Last time it felt like I was really spinning my wheels, but this week I had some really nice references, particularly from the Dragon Ball Z films, as well as this piece of Genga showing a close-up of Piccolo's face. You might have also noticed that at this point, I went to the trouble of drawing all the lines on Piccolo's arms. This was a mistake, and it was also before I realized that in the film, Piccolo has some new form where he's colored slightly differently and doesn't have those lines on his arms. Something about the arms just doesn't look right without them, and you know what? It'll probably look great in the movie. But in the end, I was honestly really happy with how this one turned out. Let's see how this one looks once AJ applies that old school filter. 1, 2, 3... Wow, okay, big change. Thanks for helping me look good, AJ. I think this looks awesome. Next image up to draw is... Ooh, it's one of my favorite stills from the trailers. It's Vegeta in a foreshortened fighting pose. And the artist that's up next to draw is... Trev, in the style of... Yuya Takahashi. This should be good. For those of you that don't know, Yuya Takahashi is one of the most prolific action animators of the modern era, producing some of the craziest sequences from both Dragon Ball Super and the Dragon Ball Super Broly film. Like is the case with many of the drawings we're doing in this video, there are no fixes being made to the CGI frames necessarily, just different approaches taken. As you can see with this redraw, most of the changes Trev implements are really stylistic more than anything, reforming the face to be more in line with a more traditional approach, while keeping the anatomy largely the same. If the trailers are any indication to go by, the film itself looks looks fantastic. And this is coming from someone that was a little nervous considering how hit or miss CGI can be at times with anime productions. But I think we're all glad this movie is getting the treatment it deserves. Furthermore, I think I can speak for the team when I say that these colors on Beerus' world in the trailers honestly look stunning, which is why we kept them. The pink and purple hues really add to the CGI renders as well as the 2D visuals Trev is streamrolling through right here. As you can see, Trev is also using the 1.5 pixel thick anti-aliasing brush, which means once again we require the services of Mix, our resident Broly filter expert. Let's see how it looks once we apply that filter. 1, 2, 3. Mix, thank you very much. His socials will be in the description down below, and this might actually be my favorite image Trev has produced on the series so far. But I think there's still one drawing in this video he does even better. Next up is this really awesome image of Gohan and Gamma clashing in the heat of battle. And the artist up to draw this time is our resident mouse-wielding expert, AJ. In the style of none other than the man who's as talented as he is polarizing, Naotoshi Shida. Having sat out the last video due to illness, we noticed that hundreds of you guys were asking about AJ's whereabouts. And thanks to your very inquisitive nature, I managed to drag both him and his mouse kicking and screaming into this video. AJ decided to draw with a tablet today, all to replicate a very distinct style that people either love or hate these days. In animation, the less detail there is and the more soft the designs are with characters, typically the easier it is to animate with. And due to this, Naotoshi Shida, despite Dragon Ball Super's notoriously brutal schedule, consistently delivered some of the best movement during its entire run. However, this is very much a taste thing in this instance. Some folks don't care as much about movement and want more model correctness above all else. Personally, I love Tate's style and I think AJ is killing it with this drawing. The rounder jaws, interesting mouth shapes, as well as the blobby round shading all pulled their weight in painting this very Tate picture. But as we mentioned with Trev's Vegeta, it's only half the battle as Mix is needed to apply the filters and effects. So let's see how they look once they're applied. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, now this one looks awesome. I think regardless of where you sit on the fence with regards to Naotoshi Shida, AJ drew something truly brilliant here. Please give him props. Something this video needs more of, however, is paint, and I'm willing to supply that, as next is the drawing of Goten and Trunks as young adults. I'm drawing it, and I decided to try and copy the style that defined Dragon Ball GT. And I wish I didn't. This one was honestly one of the only shots I thought looked kind of off, what with Trunks' head leaning forward sort of unnaturally. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity to flex some of my anatomy knowledge. Spoiler alert, I have no anatomy knowledge. In addition to that, upon accepting this challenge, I soon realized that I didn't even really know what made Dragon Ball GT different to Dragon Ball Z. I wasn't nearly as familiar with that series as I was the original Dragon Ball, and because of that I drew weird faces like these, thinking that the most important thing was to draw big noses and chins, I guess. And by the way, did you know it's really hard to find reference images at this angle for these characters in Dragon Ball GT? Like the 3/4 downward shot? There's a strange amount of up shots in Dragon Ball GT that wasn't in the prior series, which honestly I thought contributed to this weird sense that everyone in the series had these massive chins, but it was just every shot was from like an upward angle. It's weird. Regardless, I needed to once again accept I wasn't going to be able to do this one alone, and that's when Trev stepped in to lend a hand with the faces. Thankfully, I was somewhat happy with the bodies I made for the most part, and could source colors from the GT series itself. And to round everything off, it's time for AJ to help me look good in 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. I'm not accepting this as my drawing, by the way. This one was most definitely a team effort. It would have looked truly awful without the help I got on this one. So thanks everybody. Switching gears from that onto something completely different, this cute image of Pan powering up, and the artist tasked with this one was Editor San, and in the style of classic Minoru Maeda. Minoru Maeda was the very first character designer on the Dragon Ball series, working on the show from 1986 all the way to 1993, well into the Dragon Ball Z material of the story before being taken over by Nakatsuru and Tadayoshi Yamamuro. And while this pose and image might look simple, this one poses one of the toughest challenges, ironically. As many artists who have attempted Toriyama's early Dragon Ball style can attest, while it might look minimalistic and simple, it's that very minimalism that causes so many problems for artists when trying to emulate that style. Because there are so few markers markers or details in these designs that define them, if one feature or marker is even a little out of place, then suddenly it all looks wrong, which means you need to be very familiar with this particular style in order to pull it off. And we all had trouble trying to get this one right. Thankfully though, we have a great team, and Editor-san was able to illustrate something that looks supremely evocative of that period in anime history, transforming a character that in every sense of the word was emblematic of Toriyama's modern designs into one that was faithful to the original simple approach. Now all we have to do is apply the filter and 1, 2, 3. I think every time I look at this it gets better and even more authentic looking. Amazing work, Editor-san. Next image up for reimagination is this sweet shot of Gamma number 1 and Gamma number 2, and the artist tasked with changing it is me. And the style? Masaki Sato again. Alright, let's do this. These two honestly look like they'll start out the film as antagonists, but by the end will be unlikely allies against whatever the big bad will end up being. But because I love Masaki Sato's angular style, I decided to reference a lot of the older Dragon Ball Z films with Garlic Jr. and Piccolo to see what sort of angular concoction I could come up with for these fine fellows. I think I like following these older design philosophies, as the style these fellows were conceptualized in was that of modern Toriyama. Thinner, lankier features with softer, rounder shapes. They look great, but I think part of what makes these sorts of videos interesting has to be the contrast, and Masaki Sato's angular, sharper style in Z makes for the perfect contrast to these modern Toriyama characters. And surprisingly, this one out of all the drawings this week was the easiest to draw for me. The absence of a nose was troubling, but I looked at Janemba to see how the character designers navigated that, and using that same Janemba image, sourced the colors that helped bring this image to completion. This was a totally painless and, dare I say, fun enterprise. Now all AJ has to do is apply the filters, 1, 2, 3, and there you have it. Some old-timey Gamma number 1 and Gamma number 2 ready to cause all sorts of trouble for the Z Warriors. Next image up is actually the most requested. This sick shot of Ultimate Gohan, and drawing this will be Trev in the style of Yuya Takahashi. I think the trouble with Trev's drawings is that they are often over in the blink of an eye. When it comes to a variety of Dragon Ball art styles, Trev seems to have them down packed. Oftentimes, when someone begins drawing a Dragon Ball character, they do so with the face. I mean, I'm guilty of this. However, when it comes to drawing anything for Trev, good fundamentals are key, and Trev starts all of these off with a solid base sketch layer to make sure the construction is how he wants it. From there, he will slowly tweak and build his character design and structure off of each subsequent layer, applying Takahashi-style idiosyncrasies as he progresses towards the finished product. Sharp, angular eyes with a great sense of intensity, adjusting the size and positioning of different muscle groups and body features as he goes to ensure a faithful result to the inspiration itself, with shading playing a large part in what helps Takahashi stand out from the modern era, applying old school shading philosophy, and now all Trev has to do is line it with the anti-aliasing pixel brush and he's done. Mix, time to add that filter, 1, 2, 3. This is awesome. And Mix, you did some great work too by adding your own effects work to it. It looks awesome. This next segment coming up is going to be a little different. We had a lot of drawings to do this week, and I wanted to keep this video relatively short. You guys suggested we redo some of the promo material for the film itself, so for this segment we will be drawing this image of Goku, this image of Hot Pepper Vegeta, and this promo image of Goten and Trunks. And the artists to draw them will be Trev, myself, and Editor-san respectively. First up is Trev with his Goku, and he will be drawing it in the style of Shintani. Naohiro Shintani's style is delicate and subtle, but a wonderful one to work with for the purposes of animation. He goes for a less is more approach and overall a very round look to his drawings, and Trev absolutely nails this one. Check out that before and after. Next up is myself with this Vegeta, and I will be drawing in the style of Minoru Maeda. During the time of the Saiyan saga, Minoru Maeda was the character designer for the series, and this was where I took most of my references from. I wanted to make sure I nailed his white set shoulders, and for color I even decided to go that extra mile and try to mimic his watercolored Vegeta manga. I was very pleased with how this one turned out and compared to the original. And tackling this promo of Goten and Trunks, we have Editor-san in the style of modern Toriyama. Modern Toriyama is a tricky one to get right, at least for me, and Toriyama has a very particular way of drawing characters. Those of you that are unfamiliar with the Kanzenban, this was a printed re-release of the original Dragon Ball manga which featured new Toriyama artwork on the respective covers, which is exactly what Editor-san was going for with this one. Awesome work, just look at that comparison. Alright, so this brings us to the final image we will be drawing this week, and for that we wanted to make it special. The image in question is this action shot of Gohan throwing his elbows towards the camera, and Trev will be the artist drawing it. And in the style of none other than the iconic Naotoshi Shida. Naotoshi Shida has been an animator on Dragon Ball for decades. Like many other prominent animators like Naoki Tate, Masahiro Shimanuki, and Tadayoshi Yamamuro, Naotoshi Shida cut his teeth with the original series before becoming one of the most highly regarded action animators to have worked on Dragon Ball ever. He's responsible for some of the most mind-bending scenes from Battle of Gods, the Dragon Ball Super series, and indeed, Dragon Ball Super Broly. With his signature style utilizing a ton of extreme angles, camera shakes, strong posing, and of course, sharp and detailed shading work to help his images fly off of the page. Once again, the basic structure for the most part with this 3D based structure was a great jumping off point and gave Trev the freedom to immediately dive into the style of Shida without delay. There's a sort of kinetic intensity to his style, and I genuinely think Trev absolutely nailed this one. All we have to do is apply Mix's filter to it. 1, 2, 3. Wow. That genuinely looks like something straight from the anime or even Dragon Ball Super Broly. Incredible work, Trev, and incredible work to everyone who worked on these last 2 videos. Next week, professional animators that work for Toei will be joining us to help bring these frames into the 2D world, and I hope you will join us for that very special video. If you don't want to miss it, be sure to like and subscribe, but until then, I've been Totally Not Mark. I'll see you all next weekend. Thank you so much for watching.